This is the Big Woods Bucks podcast. Come explore the big woods and timber in North America with your host, Maine Master Guide and deer tracking expert Hal Blood. Listen to Hal and co-hosts Lee Libby and Joe Cruzy as they unlock the secrets of big woods whitetails. Each episode will provide valuable insights into the tried and true system Hal has used for the last 40 years to scout, locate, and hunt mature big woods bucks. Listen and laugh as the crew discusses Hal's legendary adventures and learn how to apply a lifetime's worth of lessons from the big woods to your own hunting and outdoor adventures.
Welcome to the Big Woods Bucks podcast. I'm your host, Hal Blood, sitting here with my buddies Joe Cruzy.
Hello.
And Lee Libby, your co-host. Hello. Yeah, so, it's still wintertime in Maine, and especially northern Maine. It's going to last a while longer, I guess. Deer seem to be having a pretty good time at it, even though the snow's fairly deep. They're getting around good. And we're killing a few coyotes to help them out. But this podcast, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about a variety of topics. But first off, we're going to go over a couple of the podcasts we've done in the past about we had a couple people question some of the things we said, so we just want to get that straightened out for all of you. And one of them was we had a discussion when we were talking about coyotes was I think Lee had asked me if you could hunt the coyotes with the ARs and if it mattered how many round magazines you had. And I wasn't quite sure, so I said, yeah, I think anything goes with the coyotes. I knew it was 5 rounds for deer in a semi-automatic, but come to find out after checking, somebody questioned it, and after checking, it is in Maine, it's with a semi-automatic, you are limited to 5 rounds. So just wanted to clear that up. And I know people seen pictures of me with my 870 detachable magazine, and those hold 6 rounds, but it doesn't matter in a pump. It's only that semi-automatic. So anyways, just wanted to clear that up and also say that anytime you're questioning a law, it's best to just go on. You can go online and look it up, because if somebody tells you what the law is and you believe them and they're wrong, it's still your fault for not knowing. So, and that's not just in Maine. I'm sure that's in any state you're hunting in. So, but anyways, and then we had another somebody question about Lee when Lee was telling his deer story about pulling his gun up on the guy that didn't have any orange on. So he's going to explain that a little better. We all know that, I mean, it's a common thing here that when you're tracking, you see something, you got to get ready because you might have a split second to shoot. And obviously that's what Lee was doing, but some people might look at it a different way, especially if you're not familiar with tracking. So Lee might explain that a little better for you.
Yeah,
in his best way.
Yeah, the best way.
I think the guy was lucky he didn't get a beating that day.
Yeah, first of all, he was lucky it was me, because it's not uncommon to jump a buck while we're tracking it and get leveled out on it and then realize it's not something you want. You know what I mean? No, that's not the buck I'm tracking, or that's a little smaller than I want. But second of all, the guy was in the wrong. The law says you got to wear blaze orange in Maine, and there's requirements for that blaze orange. And if you're not wearing it and you're out there, then you have to suffer the consequences. And that day he got lucky because it was close. So that being said, would I change what I did? Nope, because I didn't do anything wrong. I guess if I had to do one thing different, I actually called the warden service when I got out of the woods. My friend on the I have 3 friends on the warden service. I called one of them and explained to him what happened because I just wanted somebody to know. And his exact words were, "I wish you would have gotten a copy of his license because I would go write him a summons." So that's about it. I don't see any
Well, I think,
to do about it.
And hearing the story, and I heard the story for the first time when we talked about it on the podcast. I hadn't heard anything about it until then. And, it was I think probably when you said it, it was clicking your safety off, which when you're tracking a deer, especially in thick cover, it is instinctive to pull up in one motion and safety off if something jumps in front of you, because if someone's hunting and they're in orange, you're going to see it right away. And seeing movement, I think the law also states to always be sure of your target before you shoot. Well, Lee didn't shoot, and And it's always in tracking. It's a little bit different, a lot different than stand hunting, and some people have never tracked before. As far as say waiting for the perfect shot, if you wait for the perfect shot, which sometimes it's there while you're tracking, sometimes you catch them standing up out of their bed, or sometimes you see them out in the open and they're broadside at 80 yards, and you can take that perfect shot. But if you choose to always take that perfect shot, you may go a long time before you shoot a deer
in the North Maine woods. Absolutely.
And that's just the reality of it. I mean, I'm just being honest, and how we all hunt, and maybe there's guys out there that track that do that. I'm sure there's quite a few of them, and we never intend to injure a deer or make it suffer or anything like that. But you take the best shot that you can. But if a deer is running and it's got big horns, I'm shooting at it.
Yeah, me too.
And
quite often, like that buck I shot this year, I had just an opening between a couple of limbs, and I could see the white patch on his throat, but that's all you need. I knew that was a killing shot, and that's the shot I took. I didn't have to wait for all the little fur limbs to be clear. It's just totally different. If you don't understand it, you should try it, and then you'll experience what we talk about. But the other thing I'd point out is that anybody that's tracking big bucks, they're not going to be shooting until they see antlers anyways. It's not, you get ready, and then I know a lot of times I've had to let bucks go because I just couldn't see the antlers. I knew it was the buck, but I'd seen doe tracks around, and you just can't do it. You don't want to make that mistake of shooting a doe or a smaller buck or something, so you got to wait for them antlers to show up, and that's it. That's the way we hunt. And quite frankly, I think probably out of all not that there's a lot of hunting accidents in Maine. I mean, we have some years that there's no shootings and stuff, but I don't recall of anybody ever getting shot, killed, or whatever in Maine that was somebody tracking. It was always somebody in a stand or something like that.
Doing a drive.
And doing those other things. It's not the guys out tracking. I'd say the guys tracking are probably the ones that are more likely to be more sure of their target because they know what they want,
And when Lee told that story originally, there was not a doubt in my mind, no matter how it came across, there was not a doubt in my mind that he was getting ready to shoot the guy. He obviously would have, made sure it was the deer he wanted. But his point is that you don't go walking around in the woods with no orange on. It's
the law.
And it wasn't like the guy was foraging for chaga. He was out deer hunting.
Well, that's in Maine. I mean, there's different states have different laws. You can go over to New Hampshire and not have to hunt with orange. Is it New Hampshire? No orange?
Yeah, New Hampshire's no orange. And Vermont,
New York,
something.
Adirondacks, they don't wear orange. But the guy, when you hunt there, you know that it's nobody has. Well, not nobody, but most people aren't going to wear orange.
Well, it goes back to you got to know the laws. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And to tell you the truth, I don't know how many bucks I've killed tracking or hunting in general, but the one thing I make sure is that my orange is serviceable. And if my orange starts to get a little dull and faded out, I don't have to look like an old salt. I'm getting some new orange because the last thing I want's a hole in me. And, so there's no excuse. I've shot many a deer wearing brand new blaze orange. So the guy that says the deer can see the orange, well, I don't think he's going to have a pretty good scientific background to convince me of that.
And it is easy to get caught up when you're out in the middle of a piece of woods and you think there's no one around for miles. And it just, it's very, very rare that I ever bump into anyone in the woods, but maybe you're not going to know it when you bump into someone. And the first thing you're going to know is, when they take a shot at you or whatever by accident. But it's something I think that sets tracking apart from stand hunting is the quickness of how it happens and, making judgment calls quick, whether it's the buck you want to shoot. And obviously, none of us are pulling up and shooting movement in the woods, because that is the old, guys that took sound shots and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah, I can't imagine.
yeah.
But yeah, and then back in the old days too, 30 years ago, it was either sec. So, the old saying was brown was down. It was a little different. And quite frankly, there was a lot more hunting accidents back then too,
Yeah.
Right.
That's why they actually went to the fluorescent orange. It used to be you had to have, I was a kid, you either had to have red on or yellow, believe it or not. You could wear a yellow rain slicker or something if you wanted to on a rainy day, but because of those accidents and shooting, they went to the orange. And yeah, I think actually to me the orange looks like white to those deer. They don't see it as orange. I've had them walk up, almost step on my feet before, and if you don't move, they don't know what you are.
Right.
There's something.
Yeah. Well,
all right, let's not beat a dead horse anymore.
Get it?
Get it. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. What are we going to talk about now?
We got some questions I thought we was going to go over, no?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we're going to do some questions. I get a lot of questions on the question of the month forum in the club, and I pick one every month and answer it into the forum, but there's a lot of other good questions, that kind of go unanswered, I guess. They don't really go unanswered because I try to give everybody a personal response to them and answer it for them, but the rest of the audience doesn't necessarily see those. So we thought we'd like to answer a few of them questions, maybe get one or two or something in on every podcast if we have time, and give answers to those questions. So you got a question there already, Lee?
Yeah, this is an easy one. We'll do as many as we can. If you had 1 week to take off in November, including that first week of muzzleloader season, which week would you take off and why?
You asking me?
That's the question. I can give my answer.
Well, go ahead.
My answer would be the last week of rifle season.
Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, and the reason is because if I didn't succeed, I still had the first week of muzzleloader season.
No, but the question is, you only have 1 week.
Oh, I only have 1 week. Well, yeah,
he's not a very good listener, is he?
No, even when I read it. But yeah, mine would be that Thanksgiving week. I'd forfeit that turkey dinner for a good day in the woods. The reason is, I think by that time you're pretty much guaranteed to be in the rut, and northern Maine, there's a good chance you're going to have some snow to track. So,
yep.
Now everybody's going to call and want to book that third week.
No, that's the last week.
Yeah. Oh, the last week, right?
Last
week. Yeah.
So I take it you're not guiding that week.
No.
I got you down for third week anyway.
Yeah. I'm not guiding that week either.
How about you, Hal? What week?
Yeah, I've always said that week. I've always thought if I had 1 week, I would take that Thanksgiving week because same reasons you gave, there's more chance for snow. And it's kind of funny because I've seen a lot of years when the snow wasn't that good that time of year and it was better earlier, but odds are it's going to be better. And it's just a fun week to hunt.
Joe?
The last few years, I've been partial to like the Columbus Day. No, not Columbus. Veterans Day. Columbus Day's moose season. Veterans Day.
What's that?
Me,
the second week?
Yeah, that and not to say, I mean, they're all good, but for whatever reason, it's been good snow wise. It's just hit right for that time, and I've always had the belief, and it is a little bit different up here in the mountains, but if I'm hunting a little bit south of here, the bucks are moving a little bit earlier down there, I think, than they are here, and they that really kicks it off. That like November 10th, 11th, 12th, around that time period is when I think it's not as much. The does aren't in heat yet, or they're just starting to come into, but the bucks are cruising a lot more. But all the reasons you gave for the third week are great too. And then muzzleloader week is probably the most likely to have good snow, obviously, because it's a little bit later. And I know guys that used to hunt that week because the deer would start heading to their wintering grounds and they'd be more concentrated. So they like that, which I know there's a lot of guys that have strong feelings about that and hunting near deer yards and stuff. But
well, usually they're not. Them bucks ain't headed down yet unless they'd already been there because the snow was early. But if you get a dump of snow around that week, I've noticed those big bucks stay put. You know, they're trying to fatten up really first. That's what they seem to be doing the most. Is they don't travel as much. But the good news is if you do find a track, they're usually not traveling as much. They're easy to catch. But if I had to pick another good week, I was rattling my mind. If I knew there was snow, which quite often we can find it here somewhere in the mountains. You might have it for a day or two here and there in the high elevations. But the first week is a great week. Harder to find a track because they're not moving. But, again, the bucks aren't moving very far. And you can, about any buck you get on the first week, you're going to catch up to that buck fairly quickly. They just ain't going anywhere yet, those big ones.
And it's a numbers game too. There's more bucks. They haven't been killed yet. There's less hunters in the woods.
Definitely.
So there's definitely benefits. I mean, that Thanksgiving week, as great as it is, a lot of guys have the same thought. So,
right.
You know, everyone's got vacation time then. So that Thursday through Saturday, that last 3 days, I know is when most Mainers hunt. You know, just because they've got the time off and so the woods are certainly, busier and a little more competition. Not that it matters as much up here. Yeah.
But I would say for the average guy too that, you know, we talk about what we like because of tracking. But if you're a still hunter or a stand hunter, you know, from the second week on, any of those weeks are good to be in a stand because the second week they're starting to move pretty good. And the third and fourth week they're moving, you know, day and night, so the odds of seeing one coming by get to be a lot higher. The first week is probably about the worst week to be on a stand, again, because they're not moving that much, and it's a little more limited. But
the other advantage that I see in you know, differentiating the stand hunting and tracking is in stand hunting, if you're sitting there in one spot and there's a hot doe that's locked down with a buck, that buck might stay with her for a day or two or whatever, and they're not going to move very far. If you're tracking, you're going to come across that track. Now you've got an advantage that buck is with the doe as opposed to a disadvantage that they're holed up and not moving at all.
Right.
And I used to always consider that, you know, they call it the lockdown phase or whatever, you know, when bucks are holed up. And it doesn't really matter when you're tracking as much as it does when you're stand hunting.
Right.
It's something to consider. So.
All right.
That's a good question.
Here's one I got to read. What do you do when bucks circle knobs on ridges where they are constantly looking down on you? P.S. Hunting in the Rangeley Lakes region.
Oh.
Now, I'm going to take that as a lie because on Facebook, when somebody says, that snow looks awesome, where you riding? I usually say Lewiston, right behind Walmart.
Same place you deer hunt.
Same place I deer hunt, yeah. So that's a good question, Hal. Start with that.
Yeah. I think the guy that wrote that question probably never read one of my books.
Well, that's what I would say. There's 3 books out there.
But that's okay. It's just when that's common. I mean, they do that. A buck's always looking back one way or the other, and whether it's on a knob or across the clear cut or wherever he wants to be where he can look back on you. You got to get used to that because they're always doing it. So what do? You just try to figure out when they're going to do that before it's too late. Because if you walk halfway up that knob and then say, geez, he might be up on that knob looking back, it's probably already too late.
Right.
You know, I always look out ahead when I think they're going to be maybe looking back, either whether I haven't jumped them yet and they've been feeding, or maybe you've been on them and you've jumped them 2 or 3 times because they've been watching back. You better start anticipating it a little bit and then get off that track and loop around behind. Because those are the ones that are going to be pretty hard to kill just staying on the track and keep clomping along and thinking you're going to see them because they see your movement coming before you'll even know they were there. You'll probably never see them.
Right.
So you got to get a little creative, circle around, try to do something different.
Yeah.
Cat and mouse.
Cat and mouse.
Cat and mouse.
Sometimes I think it's better to march right in. Let's get them up, you know, because you could spend like especially if it's early in the morning and you're walking along and you get to that point on that ridge where you think, it's probably too late. You might as well march right up there and see where you jumped him and which way he went. And
oh, yeah.
over,
if you haven't jumped him yet. Yeah, I know a lot of people, they try to sneak around and they want to see one laying in its bed and they're crawling through a thicket. You can't see 10 feet.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Just push through there, and if they're in there,
get
them
up.
Sooner or later, they'll be in some kind of a place you might get a look at them,
Yeah. Get curious enough and stop and turn around and look at you or something.
Eventually, you'll catch them somewhere.
Oh, really? Really, Hal? Eventually?
Eventually.
You'll always catch them?
If
You don't run out of daylight.
If you don't run out of daylight, you'll catch up to them somewhere.
Yeah.
Or you won't.
Oh, you won't? Joe, you got anything to add to that?
Well, there was one here that caught my eye.
I guess he doesn't want to add to that.
Oh, back to that question. Well, I was going to say I have had luck. I know it's probably what Hal just said as far as circling around, because I always seem to many times go in and bump them up like that, and so I would try the circling around and catch them, and it's tough. This whole circling around thing is tough because you better have a pretty good educated guess of what the woods are there and what's around.
There's a lot of woods to see them in.
And in the past couple seasons, I've done it a couple times, but I attribute, one of them was just as much of a. One of them I actually saw the buck and it was just too much. It was just too quick where I wasn't able to get a shot. The other one I missed by, who knows, at just a few minutes anyway, where I was trying to circle around on them. But I think it can work, but, it's like everything else in tracking. Sometimes it'll happen for you and sometimes it won't, like Hal would say.
Yeah.
But
I'd say go get him off in that ridge. You start looking down on him. Right?
Yeah, you got to do something. I only do stuff like that usually once they're up and going, as if they keep repeating that. I always try to find in a certain buck, is there something he keeps repetitively doing? That's how you can figure him out a little better. Then it's not as random, because usually they're doing something random. They stop here or there, and there's no rhyme or reason to where they're stopping or where you catch up. But if they keep repeating the same thing, then you can anticipate that a little bit better. And it doesn't happen that often. Sometimes they'll go from, they ran from you 2 or 3 times, and all of a sudden they cross a stream or a road or something, and they forgot about you. Yeah, it's all just the mystique about it. You got to do something anyways. If you don't get that one that kept peeking at you, maybe you'll get the next one.
Yeah.
I did see one here that I thought was a good question, that if I could find it here in this long list of...
They're all good questions.
Yeah, they're all good questions.
The only bad question's the one not asked, right?
Yeah.
Well...
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it had to do with using calls.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that question, yeah. I was reading through them.
Well, anyway, it had to do with basically if you think a buck is bedded, if you have a feeling that the buck's going to bed, and instead of bumping him, do you hold back, or if you think you're close to him, do you hold back and try to use a grunt call or a bleat? And my answer is definitely. I do it a lot where the way I look at grunts is you've got nothing to lose. I don't.
Grunts or bleats either. When you call, there's nothing to lose except time. That's the only thing I say is the only thing you can lose is time, because you got to be, if you're going to call, you got to be committed to wait for a certain amount of time, which runs into your patience level, which I have none.
I don't. Well, I see it a little bit differently, because I use it sometimes as a cover. I use a grunt call just walking, and every once in a while just bark, bark.
Oh, and then
bark.
Try to walk in and see him anyways?
Yeah. It's as much. It's kind of like moose hunting, where you're trying to be the moose, you try to be the deer. And I think I know a lot of guys are very successful with that. And,
yeah,
I've called in.
Yeah, and there's no question about that, because they just think something else. But you got to remember, and the reason I don't do that a lot when I think they're bedded is because, I don't have the patience to wait around because I'm thinking, well, I'll talk myself right out of it. He's laying there. If I'm trying to stand there and I'm going to wait 15 minutes, I won't do it. I just don't have the patience. But it's a good tactic if you got the patience and you're gonna wait to see if something comes before you move along. But like I was telling you when I was telling my story about last fall, that was the first time I really had the patience to wait and call that one back. And that was only because I thought he stopped. It just appeared like he stopped when he jumped into those firs there. So I thought he was there, so I didn't move, Just how it worked out,
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I always think about, too, when doing that, and it all depends on the situation and the type of cover you're in and everything, but you got to remember that he's going to be hunting you then. In other words, if you're making those grunts, then
right.
he's going to come looking for you, so you're betting that, you're going to see him first. So it's to answer the question, I think it can be a great tactic using a call in that situation. I think more and more guys are realizing how invaluable calls can be.
Oh, yeah. I think it's just up to the individual, and like I said, you just put your own personality into your track, and if that's what you want to do it, because it'll work sooner or later. And if once something works for you, you'll repeat it. I can guarantee you'll keep doing it if it works once for you.
That's for sure. That's
okay. Here's a good one. It's about scent. So my question is, what do you think of scent control in the woods? I know most guys I talk to won't track bucks because they don't want their scent spooking them. They put tree stands up and wait them out. My grandfather shot a buck every year in the woods and smoked like a chimney. What's your opinion on scent control? Because I don't see that it makes a difference. I know deer have a great smell, but wanted to know your thoughts.
I wear the same pair of Under Armour all season. It rarely gets washed. It stinks, sweaty mess, and I don't think you can beat the wind. I mean, you have to use the wind to your advantage.
Yeah, if you're the wind in your favor is always a good thing, but sometimes if track's in front of you and the wind's hitting you right in the back of the ears, you still got to go.
Yeah, the wind changes so much in the woods, especially up in this country where there's ridges and mountains. Sometimes them bucks put the wind right in their back and go, and they smell what's behind them. But you got to keep going. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You just
you're never gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just if it works out in your favor with the wind and you catch them right, then you do. But it's especially with tracking because you're sweating and getting worked up, and I do believe that a lot of the scent control stuff, it's definitely getting better. The if you're sitting in a stand, they've got these things now with the ozonics and all that. It probably does work when you're sitting in a stand, but there's nothing that's practical.
Right.
I would think
tracking.
the tree stand guys would need to worry more about scent, but
I think they'd need to worry less because they're up in the air. I mean, I don't know. I guided bear hunters for 20-something years, and you get them 10 feet off the ground, the bears can be all around and not usually smell them.
I 10 feet, not enough.
Oh, yeah.
That scent's coming down.
I know you like
hunted
to sit
out
in your 50-foot tree stand.
Yeah, and that's why. Because I believe that 20 feet in the air, they're still smelling you.
I'm kind of a numbers guy, so if my grandfather shot a buck every year smoking cigarettes walking through the woods, I'd probably buy a pack of cigarettes.
Something I do is just to try to I'll keep because it can look kind of funny, but I'll take a tampon and I'll tie it on my gun and just put some scent on that, some doe and heat or something. Just maybe it'll stop them for a second where they don't, they smell that first. That's my feeling on it, is kind of a little bit of a cover or something I don't think it's going to attract them to me, but I don't think it can hurt, kind of along the lines of the calls.
Right. No, I personally don't use anything. I get up in the morning, if I spill coffee on me or whatever, it is what it is, and I'm headed. But if I am in a spot where I think that buck's going to lay down, I am a little bit conscious of the wind. and I will try and circle a little bit to get it in my favor, but I really got to be pretty sure.
Yeah,
I think
same
that
with me.
deer's right there, you know.
Yeah, I don't pay much attention unless I think he's laying there somewhere handy, then I start thinking about it a little bit. But the other thing it goes back to, if you wear your woolies, it airs out so quick anyways. You're not going to hold odors on you. About the only odor you'll have is whatever's coming out of your breath or off your face if you're sweating or something. So can't worry about it.
No,
Go ahead.
Another reason that really windy days are good,
right?
Because that helps. That's a big advantage.
Yeah, your scent don't get 10 feet from you on them days.
Right, and it's blowing all over the place.
But I was sitting here thinking while we was talking about that, you guys were talking on that answer, if I thought back about how many times a buck has actually winded me and busted me that way, and it's not very many. I can't think of very many that winded me first and took off, you know what I mean, before I got to look at them or whatever. Hey, everyone. Hal here. You want to join the hunting club as soon as you can, because that's where you're going to get all my information. I'll have short film hunts, video tips, articles every month, and there's also a forum on there for you people to communicate. Maybe you'll meet a new hunting buddy on there. And the other thing is a question of the month. Submit a question, and I'll pick one every month to answer, and the winner's going to end up getting a decal for their truck. Join up at bigwoodsbucks.com. Hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, Joe here. Wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Lake Parlin Lodge. We're a 4-season lodge located just south of Jackman. We've got cabins, lodge rooms, mini lodge. We're a big snowmobile destination in the winter, full restaurant, bar, all the amenities that you need for your trip. Open obviously through the summer, right on the lake. Kayaks, canoes, all included with the cabin. We also do a lot of weddings, so if you're looking for a destination wedding, we can do a wedding up to 200 people. And, of course, we've got our hunting season, moose season, deer season. So check us out. We're at lakeparlinlodge.com.
All right. Next one. Do you always tape up the end of your barrel? Does it affect how the rifle shoots? Is it just to keep out the weather?
Good question.
Yeah.
I use a balloon.
You use a condom?
Well, I was going to say, you got to tampon the condom on the end of your... Here we go.
Your condom might fit on the end of a barrel. I use a balloon.
Remember, he's got them size 9 boots.
9. You know what they say about guys with little feet?
Hey.
They have little feet.
No, I always, especially with muzzleloader, I use a balloon, but I use it on my rifle also. I like them because they're quick and easy. If I have a couple in my pack, and if I took a shot at one or something, I have one for backup or whatever. I've got extra. And tape, I find if you put tape on when it's warm and everything's good, it'll stay on there. But if you're back out in the elements, the tape's not going to stay because it's wet and cold. And
yeah, you got to warm your barrel. I've put it back on out in the woods, but I keep some extra wrapped around my barrel, and then I hold my hand around it and warm it up, and warm up the end of the barrel, and if you stretch it, it'll stay better too. I use electrical tape, and if you pull it and warm it up and stretch it over, it'll usually stay pretty good. But I learned that, I don't know, probably at least 25 years ago. It was right when I met Mike Featherstone, because he'd been guiding in Alaska, and they all do that. They have all the clients tape their barrels because of the weather. You know, they get so much rain and all of that, and they may be lugging their gun for 10 days and straight ahead on a backpack trip or something. And but I always did notice once the light bulb come on when he told me about it, because the end of my barrel, you'd look in where the lands and grooves are in the end, and you'd see a little rust forming in there, if you'd had a wet, damp day or something and you didn't punch the bore out. But once I started using the tape, it never does that. The other thing is, if you shove it in the snow or something, and you're never going to get snow up in the barrel, and it's works really good.
Yeah, good trick.
And no, it doesn't. The other thing is, some people think it would affect the accuracy, but it doesn't, because the pressure pushes it off before, blows a hole in it before the bullet ever gets gets there. It's almost like the bullet's creating a vacuum going down the barrel, so it doesn't affect the accuracy a bit.
That was in my when I started using balloons. That was one of the reasons. And I know the tape blows off too, but I always imagined that the balloons were less. They blow up out of there quicker or whatever. Not that it matters, but
yeah. All right. Next question. Do you find that bucks will always bed in a thick mountaintop during the day, or will they ever lay in an open hardwood at lower elevations? I hunt the Adirondacks in a very mountainous area with very little flat area. Joe?
Sir, yeah, bucks will bed places other than on top of mountains.
Yep.
Of course they will. They'll bed in a cedar swamp behind a blowdown. They'll bed there. You learn it. To me, every time I come across a buck's bed, I really take time. I've been at this for not nearly as long as you guys have, so it's always a learning process, and you can learn a lot if you take a look around every time you come to a buck's bed and try to figure out why he's bedding there. What did he like about that? See what he's seeing from that point. And I actually talked about it on the other podcast, but the last track that I had this season, the last day of Black Powder, the buck I was tracking bedded 4 times during that day when I was tracking him. And he, number one, he just wanted to sleep. Obviously I knew he was tired. All he wanted to do was lay down deep snow and into the rut and everything. But there was really, in those 4 places that he had bedded, there was really only one spot where I thought I really had a good opportunity to kill him. The other ones, they're pretty smart at finding those good spots where they're going to see you first.
Yeah, well, that's what they do to survive. They got to see what's after them. But I know what I've seen around here, because we've got plenty of mountains, but we also have the low ground in between, and they will bed about anywhere when they get ready to lay down. I mean, they always find a place they can look back, but it doesn't have to be up on a ridge. But if they're near a ridge, most likely they are going to go up on the ridge to lay down if they're there. If they're not around one, then it doesn't matter. But I very rarely see where one will lay at the base of a ridge instead of going up on it where you can look down. And quite often they'll make an abrupt turn to go up there. It's like they're going along, and all of a sudden they just swing and turn right uphill and go up there and lay down.
And if there's not a ridge, there might be just a small knob in a swamp or something, and
yeah,
just a little bit of elevation, anything.
You see that a lot in those thickets, cedar swamps and stuff like that. There might be a little knob that's 10 feet higher than everything else. That's where they're going, up on that, where they can look around. I think it's a combination of they can see back, but it's also if they jump off the back side of it, they disappear quickly too,
Yep.
So, yeah, there's no question they're smart about that stuff. They learn it as they get older, They don't want a coyote sneaking up on them,
I did shoot one nice one laying right in the middle of a hardwood ridge. He stuck out like a sore thumb on 4 inches of fresh snow. I'm like, look, that deer laying right there. I actually looked down and thought it was a spike horn when I first saw it. And then I pulled my gun up and I see he had a little more antler, not a huge rack, but I looked and he looked like a huge deer. I'm like, I wonder, that's a big deer. So I thought about it for 15 seconds, seems like an eternity. And he turned his head a little bit to look at me, and I see he had a basket rack. It ended up being a basket rack 7-pointer. But his neck, everything jiggled on him, just laying in his bed. So I shot him and got up there. He dressed out 197, no heart, no liver, no lungs, nothing. But he had kind of a disappointing rack on him. But it was the last day. But yeah, he laid there, and then that black buck over in New Hampshire that me and Kevin screwed up on that day, he was right in the middle of a hardwood ridge. And we thought that was a moose, is why we didn't pull the trigger on it until he got out of his bed. But he was actually laying in the middle of a hardwood ridge, but what we didn't see was there was a little gully in front of him, and he didn't make 2 jumps, and he was in that gully and gone. But, yeah, though, I think they lay wherever they feel
usually
safe.
I find it's when they lay in what I call those stupid places, it's usually late in the season when they're tired. They just, they just decide they got to lay down, and they do,
Yeah.
But
like us without our Snickers bar.
Yeah.
Lay down.
Let's shift gears from the questions now. A couple other things I wanted to cover before we wrap it up. And one of them was I just talked to, the other night, I talked to the guy that shot the biggest buck in Maine this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Young fella from over in Vermont. And it was kind of funny. I told him to call me because I guess like anything else, when you shoot something big or whatever, you always get the haters out there,
Yeah.
and not believe in his story or whatever. But I had heard about it back the end of November about somebody shooting a 300-pounder, and quite frankly, I doubted it because since when the Maine Sportsman clarified that you had to have all the guts out, the heart, lungs, liver, and everything to qualify for the big buck club, biggest bucks in Maine club. Since that time, that's been going on 20 years. I don't believe there's been a buck dressed 300 pounds. And before that, seemed like every year, every few years there was one. And I remember 1 year there was 2 or 3 that were just over 300. But thinking back on it now, it's probably the reason, they just, if you leave the heart, lungs, and liver in a deer that size, that's another 30, 40 pounds or something, it's big, But so when I heard that story, I go, I don't know, can't imagine it. But we have had some since then that were in the 280s, 285 or something. So anyways, he had sent me an email about it that, he kind of wanted our help to, I don't want to say clear his name, but to get the word out about his buck, because it was in the Maine Sportsman this past month, it was the number 1 buck in the state, and it weighed 300 right on the nose. So I had a good conversation with him, and he's a forester, and he's hunted in Maine and a bunch of places because he goes around different parts of the country for his forestry job. But anyways, he I think people were doubting it and stuff because I told him he could have probably helped himself out because he didn't tag it where he shot it, and he didn't because he tagged it the first one he came to, but he shot it up in the North Maine woods there, but he tagged it when he got out to Ashland, and they didn't have a scale, but the camps that he stayed at, the woman running the camps had a scale that they used. It was a digital scale they used in bear and moose season, and she had it, I guess, down in her cellar or whatever, and they got the scale out. She let him use it, and it was a digital electronic, I guess, or something, and it bounced between 285 and 310 or something. It wouldn't steady up, but they knew it was big, anyway. So he decided they better get it weighed. So they didn't have a scale at the tagging station in Ashland, so they looked up on their phone the closest tagging station from there, which was Lenny's store in Midway, down the highway.
Yeah.
So that's where he ended up getting it weighed and getting his paperwork to get it entered. And so it's quite a buck,
Yeah.
Had a big rack with it, too. He sent me some pictures. And matter of fact, I told him we would put his story on the website. So we'll have that posted here pretty quick on the website for everybody to read if they want to. It's quite a nice story about hunting up there with his buddy and stuff and the whole thing. So
That's quite a milestone to get past that 300-pound mark.
Oh,
yeah. He told me the funny thing was he's hunted different places. He told me he's hunted over by Rangeley, I guess, and over east some, and different places. I think it kind of seemed like it kind of depended where he was forestering and found some deer sign,
Yeah.
And but anyways, he had a goal. He'd never shot a 200-pound buck, and
still hasn't.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's kind of funny. He told me he called his mother and said he still hadn't shot he got a buck, but he still hadn't killed a 200-pound buck, and then told her it was 300, So yeah.
That's great.
So,
good for him, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's one of them things. Is just he tracked it. He shot it in his bed. Actually, tracked it for half the day. There, he said he shot about 11:30. But yeah. Good accomplishment. What it is it's kind of funny. All those bucks with the you get into those tracks that are them great big square-toed ones. You don't know if they're going to weigh. They can weigh anywhere. The same size track can weigh anywhere between 200 and 300. I mean, it just can. I've shot a lot of them, and you can't. Some people think the size of the track means the weight, and it doesn't. It means more about the age of them,
Well, maybe next podcast or something, or sometime in the future, we can give them a call and have them on, because that would be it would be good to hear that story from him.
Yeah.
I know, a 280-pound deer or 300-pound deer or 270-pound deer, they're all monsters, and just because it's that magical number that makes it so interesting. But it's you always think everyone's always talking about the Horace Hinckley, the biggest one, and that one was that one fully field dressed, or did that have heart and lungs? Was that ever
the Hinckley deer? I am sure, because back then, when that was shot back in the 50s, that's why they called it field dressed, because they used all the organs. They ate all that stuff back then. Remember, they made something out of it. Yeah. So they left kidneys in any organ that they were going to eat. They left all that in there. So, and I'm sure it was, you know what I mean? Because that's the way they all did it back then. So you could probably take, 30, 40 pounds off of the Hinckley buck if you wanted to compare it to anything else, you know what I mean? Not taken away from it. That's just the way it was. Everybody thought that was the way to do it then. And because they were doing it both ways up until 15, 20 years ago, they clarified it, and they wanted all internal organs out. And so,
are you saying the record will never be broken?
I don't think it will be. No. I mean, you got to think about that. How it's not even been close. You know what I mean? There's been no others. Most of if you look at the other ones that were shot over 300, most of them was like from 300 to 315. There's nothing that's up there like 330, 340. There's nothing.
So that would be interesting. What the largest field dress buck is that basically certified no heart, lung, liver.
Well, we'll probably never know, because, like I said, I got an idea that most of the ones that were over 300 back more than 15, 20 years ago probably had the heart, lungs, and liver. And I'm not saying they did, and but it's just kind of ironic. Well, it's ironic that you would have one every few years, one or two over 300, and then for 20 years you don't have any. You know what I mean? It's not nothing to. It's just something to do with that's a weight thing. The way they're weighed. It has to be. The
other thing I wonder is how many guys didn't care what they weighed and just took their deer home, and because
there's lots of them. There's a lot of them that still don't get weighed, and quite frankly, there's a lot of them that don't get entered. I know people, they keep saying about, there's the number of big bucks is down because, the main sportsman always kept track of them. I can remember it was always 600 or 700, and now it's 400 and something. But there's two reasons for that. Way less deer in the North Maine woods where all the big bucks are, and way less hunting pressure.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason. But the third reason is there's a lot of people that don't enter them. 269
out of Jackman, not in the book. Not in the Maine Sportsman, and that's everyone's prerogative. That some people it's not important to them. They don't care about it, and
they don't want other people to know.
Yeah.
Some people don't want it, and I mean, I haven't since I don't know. It's been 10 or more years now that they had it where they used to give you a card at the stores, at the tagging stations. They had a regular, like an official card from the Maine Sportsman, and they'd fill it out and sign it. And you sent that card in. They don't do that anymore. You got to get some kind of a script or something, or cash register receipt from the store, and then find out who to send it to. And then I think it discouraged a bunch of people. But that's about when I quit sending them in. I haven't sent one in for quite some time.
A lot of guys, I think, they get their 200-pound deer, and they get their patch, and one patch. I mean, what are you going to do with
10?
Yeah,
what do you do with 10?
Yeah.
So, and it's this goes back to a conversation that you and I had, Hal, about hunting, and a lot of guys have these conversations about how many bucks people kill, and this guy's a great hunter and everything else, and our discussion is that if hunting is a competition to you, and the only reason you're hunting is to kill the heaviest buck, or, you know, it's all right to want to kill the heaviest buck for your own purpose and, you know, for a sense of that accomplishment, but, you know, it's not a competition.
No.
You know, hunting is about
camaraderie.
Right?
Yeah. It's about being happy for everybody that kills a buck. You know, too many people look at it as a competition and who's the best at this and who's the best at that. It's crazy to think about that stuff, because anybody that, especially the trackers, it's different if you're sitting on a stand. It's a matter of you picked out the right stand, you did your homework or whatever. But especially when you're tracking, I mean, you get on a big track, and again, you don't know if it's 200 or 300. You're hoping it's on the bigger end, but when you get on that track, you're only competing with that buck. You're not competing with anybody else. And if somebody shoots one that's 10 pounds heavier, great.
Good.
It doesn't make any difference. You know what I mean? It's crazy to think that way. It's all about the hunt, you and the hunt and the deer, that buck you're after, and you outwit him, and that's your accomplishment. And you do it one day, and somebody else does it another day, and that's all it is. You got to be happy for everybody doing it. There's too many haters out there for everything else to be worried about how many bucks somebody shoots, how big they are, and you know, just creates a lot of jealousy, I think.
Yeah, it's a personal thing, and I mean, there's a pile of good trackers and good woodsmen. I think in Maine, there's an abundance of it, because that's how people grow up here, and
I know a lot of good hunters and trackers and
no one ever knows.
And they ain't never going to come here and sit down and talk into this microphone and share their stories, because they just assume you didn't know. And
lots of people like
to ever tell you where they actually shot one, you know, you're not going to get that out of them either, you know.
No.
You know, Hal's got his books, and, you know, he's worked hard at basically spreading the word. And I think, you know, from what he's told me, it's about passing the knowledge down to another generation, you know, because it's there's a lot to be learned when you listen to someone that's done it for a long time and is not one of the guys that wants to keep it to himself, which there's nothing wrong with that. Some guys couldn't care less. They do it for themselves, and that's it. And it's just, you know, I've seen things before about, this guy's the best hunter in the Northeast, or that guy is, and there is no best in my mind. It's not a competition. We're all out here for generally the same thing and the same reason.
Yeah.
Yep. Passing the torch. Yeah. Maybe someday you guys will push me around in my wheelchair, and
then you're gonna have to stand hunt.
Yeah,
as much as you don't want to.
Well, I figure we'll see how it goes once I get past 80. I think I'm pretty good till I get to be 80.
Yeah.
He's just going to make us, why don't you go hunt this piece over there while I sit right here?
Well, we're not going to be spring chickens at that point either, Lee.
I ain't getting old. You can get old if you want.
Yeah. That's why I stand hunted for all those years earlier, because I want to be good at it.
Yeah.
When I get older and I can't walk around anymore.
You'll revert back to your childhood, like
that's right. Yeah. Yep. I won't be hunting 50 feet in the air, though. I know that.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to go to the Big Woods Bucks website and join the hunting club. On there, you'll find short films of Hal's hunts, video tips and articles written by Hal, as well as a forum where you can go on there and talk with fellow hunters and learn a few things while you're at it. There's a lot of good stuff on there, and we think it's going to be a great place for hunters to just communicate, you know, and talk about a common interest. Check us out at bigwoodsbucks.com.
Well, we're probably getting time to wrap it up, but let's. I wanted to say something else about Big Woods Outfitters. It's going good. We got a bunch of guys booked for the guided hunts and stuff, and it's going to be good. But I think there's been a little confusion on what the American plan hunt was. I know some people, they don't quite understand it. I thought everybody did, because, you know, it's kind of been a standard that's a meal and lodging is a American plan. But anyways, I hadn't got as many calls on that, and I think that's probably why. So if any of you out there listening and you're interested in that meals and lodging end of it and hanging around with Big Woods team around the campfire at night at the lodge and doing that. We got plenty of room for you, and it's going to be fun. We'll point you in a direction to go where there's some deer, and you just got to get in there and get after them. So you're welcome to come on up. Give me a call if you want to try it, and you'll understand what we're talking about here on this program.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
It might
you may
not be too understandable. I don't know.
Yeah.
At least speaks a lot of gibberish.
Yeah. You might have a little bit of a learning curve like we all did, but that's all right. And again, like I always said, you'll either love it or you'll hate it.
Yeah.
But
That's for sure.
I think you guys that are out there listening probably are the ones that's going to love it, or you wouldn't hang around and listen that much. But so anyways, Joe's got to go plow snow. Lee's got to get back to the shop.
Yep.
Whip his crew into shape.
Yeah, I don't think I have much of a crew today.
No.
I might have a guy in the woodworking shop, but other than that, I think the other boys were going to shovel a couple roofs this morning and call it a day.
Oh, yeah.
And then Lee's going to play. He's going riding.
I got to go get ready. I got 2 snowmobiles torn apart in the shop that's going to go back together.
You riding tomorrow?
Oh, yeah. I got guys coming from all over tomorrow.
All right. Those guided trips?
Yeah. You know, a problem with guiding snowmobilers is they all become friends after a while and they stop paying. But at the same time, it's not a bad thing because I like to take people out and have a good time and teach them a little bit. You know, if somebody learns something they didn't know in the morning, and that's always fun. And
cook a hot dog. And
lunch, red hot dog on the fire. But it goes back to sharing the experience. I could go out there in the woods and have some of the best climbing all to myself all day long, but I don't think it's that fun by yourself.
No.
Yeah, so to follow that up, what are your favorite spots to go ride and climb? And
Lewiston, Walmart.
Yeah, they make some big banks over there.
Yeah, and the main mall. I see a line in that main mall parking lot the other day I'd have loved to have. Yeah. But, somebody said that's another whole topic, but somebody said to me the other day that they didn't think it was a good idea that I guided backcountry snowmobilers because I was ruining all the spots. And I says, I gotta say that most spots I've been to, and the season's almost half over, most of the spots I've been to in the last month have not had a track in them.
Yeah.
And I made it a mission, back as long as I've been riding, is to find these little hidey holes that's really hard to get into, where we can be left alone. And we all know the favorite spots, they get pounded.
Right.
And let them guys have them. You know what I mean? That if they feel comfortable in the woods, they feel comfortable going in there and getting back to their truck, then that's a great spot. I'm always looking for that different spot.
A lot of parallels between that and deer hunting, huh?
Yeah, and it's the same. I don't need to go to a spot where I know is going to be crowded on a Saturday, Sunday. I'm not going to go in there on a Thursday and Friday and ruin it for them guys coming Saturday and Sunday because they're going to get discouraged. I've got enough spots to go. And
Well, I'm going to go coyote hunting tomorrow and see if we can get some more of them deer killers.
That sounds fun, too.
Yep. We're going to go, and we get this snow. This new snow is going to be just what we need to slow them coyotes up. Yeah. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, good luck on the trail.